What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Indie Inkwell. My name is Jeremy, one of your two hosts. Joining me today, as always, well, when the Air Force allows him, my co-host, Longbox Entertainment, aka Michael. What's going on, man?
What's up, brother? Not much. I'm glad to be here, man. I'm glad to
Hey,
get into it. This is going to be a great episode.
I
And
know
yeah,
we got it. We're gonna have a nice little freestyle episode. We've got the president and co-founder of Massive Publishing and one of his artists, Rob Cannon. Please, everybody, give it up for Kevin Roditeli and Rob Cannon. What's going on, guys?
Yo. Happy to be here. Straight out Barcelona. Now I'm a soccer fan. Well, I saw a game, so now I'm a fan, and I bought a overpriced jacket. I've never been into it since I saw the Barcelona. It's that thing is crazy. If you're not into soccer, and if you are, it's even better. I think you need to go see that thing in Barcelona. Just crazy, like everyone like chanting like Barca, Barca. It's just crazy.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, I got a jacket now. I'm a fan. I don't give a fuck about that
That's how
sport
it
2
goes,
days
but
ago,
that's
now,
a real quick way to
now
become a fan
I'm
of
into
something
it.
is go see it live.
No, it was
oh
awesome.
yeah, facts.
So yeah, not related to comics, but that's my introduction. How are you doing, guys?
Good,
We're
good.
doing great. Doing great.
So we're kind of freestyling this episode here. We didn't get a whole lot of prep time, but that's all good. We do like to start with everybody's origin stories though on the show. We like to kind of get a sense of how everybody got into comic books, either as kids or as adults for the first time, and then kind of figure out how you guys ventured into the industry yourselves and kind of go from there. So whichever one of you would like to start.
Rob, go for it.
Okay,
I
I'll
already
go.
started with my bullshit, so.
Yeah. Well, oh man, Kevin's involved with my entry into this industry,
Same.
and I mean, the main thing for me was I started off wanting to make movies, and that stemmed really from a desire to be a storyteller, and really into visual stuff and that kind of thing. And I realized pretty early on that being a director takes a lot of skills other than just having an idea, right? The actual work to do in order to execute is a lot more than just like visualizing the shots, telling actors what to do, blah blah blah. It's very social and like leadership based, and those were skills that I did not have when I was like 18. So I quickly gave that up. And but I've always been into drawing and comics and stuff like that. And so I started taking the idea of doing that myself seriously. And it really became, I think for Kevin, it was the same kind of process of like seeing my idea of comic books was very like, it's all superheroes and like stuff that I wasn't really interested in at the time.
Right.
Not to disparage anyone who's fans of that stuff. It's cool and everyone's got their thing and that's dope. But for me, I was never into it. And I read Watchmen and I was just like, that was the first time I saw an example of something like, oh shit, this is a medium.
It could be other than spandex suits.
Yeah, exactly. And it can be taken seriously as a storytelling medium. And then it went from there and I started to find more indie stuff. I saw the book 300 after I watched the movie and I was like, holy crap, dude. This artwork is totally breaking all the rules. Like, and then at that point, after seeing that, I felt like, oh, I can do this. And if you've seen any of my artwork in Washed in the Blood, you'll notice that I also am not a big fan of following rules. So yeah, I kind of took
For
that
sure.
to make a long story short. Oh my god, to make a long story short. I'd been throwing out my stuff for a while after getting out of college and in my 20s, and then just kind of randomly, Kevin picked up on something that I was working on, this pilot for something called Scene 6, and we started a publishing company. From there, we had some limited success, and then from there, it's just kind of been like building off of that and learning, and just a whole bunch of little adventures, and part of that was the creation of this miniseries. So that's my short story.
No, that's
I
awesome.
love it.
Kevin, over to you. How did you kind of get into comic books?
Oh man, it's gonna sound because I have kind of the similar origin and actually Rob. It started with Watchmen the movie as well, which is
Okay.
I've always been like a kid into filmmaking. Like even my history teacher actually did ask me like when I was like I don't know like 4 or 5. I like grade in high school. We have different grade in Canada, so I don't know what it is in the U.S. but whatever. So he just like sent me. He just give me the Stanley Kubrick collector set because I said to him, I want to be a filmmaker. I want to make movies, whatever. And he's like, go home with that set. Don't tell your mom. Don't tell your I want to remind that in this collector set, there is a Clockwork Orange in full metal jacket shining. And that was maybe like 12, I think.
Definitely movies you shouldn't be watching.
Right.
And he is a teacher, so you give to a 12 years old kid a movie with rape in it, you know?
Right. You're looking at like
Right.
losing a job,
But-
loss.
But I will shout out that guy, Alexandre Spodo. That teacher changed my life, and I think that it's something that we kind of never do. But I think when you're a creator, a creative person, most of the time there is like a teacher or someone like a figure that actually had like a small impact like that they bring you to the biggest thing. And to me, that teacher like just taking the risk of giving this weird collector thing to a kid. Just changing my life, changing my perspective on storytelling. Because since then, I have my Clockwork Orange poster in my office. Well, I'm not in my office; I'm right now in a bar. But imagine my office. There's a Clockwork Orange poster there. But yeah, I was not into comics. Same thing in Rob. Being in a small town in Quebec, even worse because I did not really have access to a comic book store. It was just like French reprint I could get like at bookstores. To me, it was just like spandex punching and shit. And I see Watchmen in theater, and that was like eye-opening. That superhero stuff can have like a deeper meaning, or just like a story that was more breaking than just the cartoon shows for kid I was seeing on TV. And the day after, I go to I Google like comic book shop. I found like a really small shop that we had in town. I did not even know, and I asked for a Watchmen, a graphic novel. I read it. I go back the day after, buy another. I think it was a Grant Morrison or maybe another Alan Moore. No, it was V for Vendetta. I was like, let's stick with the same writer, and I grabbed V. I love it as well. I got into comics that way. And even I got into the shop after as a co-owner with my buddy Tony Kent actually did a cover on that series. So it's pretty interesting. Like all comics started like friend journeys. Like with Rob, I think we've been making books and publishing adventure together since like 2016, I believe now. So it's
that's a long time, man.
Yeah, we're gonna have a 10 years anniversary in 2 years.
I would say you guys are one of the few indie creators that we've talked to that started pre-pandemic.
Right?
Because and nothing against anybody who did, because I mean that's when I started doing content was during the pandemic. I feel like just a lot of people had nothing else to do but get creative,
Like the last resort.
I mean,
Like,
same here, JJ. I started during the pandemic.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that's good because necessity breeds creativity, right? Like,
Facts. It's funny how like both of you mentioned Watchmen and like the movies and all this stuff, because that's how I get other people like in the comic books. I always tell them like, hey, watch a couple movies, figure out like what characters you kind of like, and then you can branch out from there. But man, that's awesome, man. The fact that y'all been doing this for almost 10 years, like that is a milestone, because a lot of publishing companies don't even get that far. So.
Yeah, or if they do, they're completely and utterly broke at this point.
Yeah, I mean,
I do not say that I'm rich.
yeah. Neither of us are driving Lamborghinis at this point.
Not yet.
We're having fun though. To me, that's much more important. I've had opportunities in my life to make tons of money, and right now I'd rather be doing this. Or wake up in the morning and go, oh hell, what am I doing for work today? And 9 times out of 10, I'm like, awesome, I can't wait to get into it. And that's just the kind of life I've always wanted. And so, in a way, we're sort of living the dream. I don't know, Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah. No, I mean, like I'm well, Rob know me. I'm type of that dude that never stop and just like is always like on the next thing, and that's why I'm like last minute and like, hey, let's do the show. Rob is coming. It's
Right.
just like and I love it. To me, like life is so short that I don't want to stop, and I just want to play that
Right.
game. To me, it's like a giant game. I'm just having fun, and I want to have fun with my friend. I want to have fun with the people I love, and just like travel around the world, make shit happen, and just like embrace the process of like making books, creating stuff. Because I think that some of the problem of our current society. Oh boy, that sound deep. It's actually we don't. It's how the system is built with everyone like being stuck at their job, and just like the inflation is even worse now that you need the second job, or just like the you're always working, you don't take the time to go back and just take like 5 minutes in your day to really ask who you are. I think we
Right.
like with all the system of like what's going on right now, we always forget who we really are. And I kind of want to just like I'm afraid of losing that, or just like being connected with myself and like connected with what I am and what I want to be and what I love. Because I see people around me, just people in that bar right now, that I feel their soul are empty because they kind of lost themselves. They all speak French here, so we're fine. But no, but I mean, I kind of want to spread the word that like the little kid in you, the little dream that you have, um, don't lose it. Like even if you have like just 10 minutes in the day, take time to be connected with that kid for 10 minutes and just like
Exactly.
be passionate about what you're truly passionate about. It might be comics, it might be soccer, it might be whatever. But if you have your 10 minutes free, don't lose that. And yeah, I don't even remember what was the question. I
No,
was
man, that's fact. Like that's literally words to live by. Because like when I read a comic, man, I'm not thinking about my job. I'm not thinking about bills. I'm not. I It's a form of escape, right? And I think in the world we live in today, there's so much messed up stuff in this world. People need a form of escapism, right? Whether it's comics, movies, whatever. And I get that. And a lot of people, just to bring this back to, like comic books, some people are losing that escapism from, mainstream comics, right? Uh, and they're truly, some people don't even know what an indie comic book is, right? And the fact that a lot of people are missing out on so many great stories. And just to segue into massive publish, can y'all tell us a little bit of some of the stories that y'all publication company can present to comic book fans?
yeah. I think so far everything we have released is all project run by passion. I think that's kind of what I don't think there is like any book that we did a move that was just like, oh, we're gonna do a shit ton of money with that, because like let's be honest, it's comics. There is no one in Rolls Royce and billions of dollars in their pocket. But it's all stories from creators that were deeply passionate about the book itself, and we were all fan of those books. When I have passed, and I think the team we have passed on books that we just like we know they were great, but we did not like feel the connection. I don't. If you look at the catalog, like alpha betas to even Wash in the Blood, there is nothing. There is no link connected into those two properties. Just like we were
Right.
passionate about what they were and what they represent. So yeah, just like I would say that it's maybe not good business, or maybe it is, but that our brand is mostly built on taste and passion, what we like. We're just fanboys running the thing, basically.
Right. I mean, but
But
that's what we like, Like as comic book readers, like we want to see the passion.
yeah,
Like when I read, I want to be like, wow, I could tell that this writer, that this artist, they're putting their all into it. And, and at that point, the passion sells itself.
Hmm.
I want to piggyback off of what Mike just said, because that's so awesome, and something that's hard for creators to learn, because it's such a hurdle to start making an income as an artist or a writer or God forbid, a comic book publisher, that you start to focus so much on the bottom line. Or if you just like kind of like Kevin was saying, sit back, take a few minutes to focus on your passion and just kind of realize that the stuff that you're drawn to it for a reason. It's not because people were going like, okay, we're going to make this because it's going to make a lot of money. No, you're like Mike, you were saying, you're perceiving the passion and the amount of love and effort that's going into a piece of work. And that will eventually, with enough exposure and in time, will sell itself. And so I think, Kevin, like to kind of answer your flippant comment about like, is it good business? I would say it's like the only way to do business, right? Because if you're going through with this cynical, like bottom line focused, like race to the bottom mentality, you're going to end up just selling featureless products that no one gives a shit about, including you. And if you don't give a shit about the products that you're selling, what the hell are you doing? Like,
no, 100%. And you can, like with indie stuff, especially, you can tell what's a passion project and what's trying to get a check.
Yeah, most def.
Yeah,
it's not hard to see because the dialogue will be very bland, the artwork will be very cookie cutter, all the faces will be exactly the same. Like, there's little stuff that maybe like the casual fan wouldn't notice, but like a hardcore comic book reader, we can spot cash grab a mile away.
Yeah. Especially with something like when you're talking about something that's corporate made, it's a little bit harder because there is sort of a standard that things are kind of following. But when you're talking about an indie book, there's no reason that an indie book should remind you of like, oh man, I've seen this 100 times. Like that's an opportunity as an indie creator to just go like full board,
go off the wall, man. Like
you've ever had, like throw all of your talent and passion at it. I hate the word talent. I shouldn't use that, but like just like everything you've ever learned that you value. Now's your chance to put it into the fight.
Let's dive into that statement real quick. You just said you don't like the word talent. Extrapolate on that a little bit.
Yeah, that guy's talented. Look at that cover.
Yeah, man.
So why is that talent?
So usually when you hear the word talent, it's like a parent talking about their kid. It's like it's to say that someone is talented mean you're meaning that they have kind of an inborn I don't know, like a specialty for something, like they're naturally good at something, that's fine. But like when you get to a level where someone has been working at something for 20 plus years, you're beyond talent. That's a skill that they've built up. And so to use the term talent minimizes that, I think. And it's something that I've started to take kind of seriously. And I don't know, like, does talent even exist? Because I'm sure you've heard like a quote like this before. I'm sort of paraphrasing, but it goes something to the notion of like someone who's talented but doesn't work hard is going to be dog shit compared to someone who has no talent whatsoever, but works really hard and practices and studies and all that, and like goes through the motions of like being a creator or whatever you're doing. Like I don't care if you're talented, if it's you're untalented at rowing or drawing or writing poetry. Like if you practice enough and learn how they work, you're going to get better at them than someone who is talented and doesn't work as hard as you.
No, that's true. I could definitely see that. Like right off the top of my head, I thought about Alex Ross, right?
Okay.
Alex Ross all the time he posts his pictures. He even posts some artwork that he does when he's a kid, right? And even if you look at like some of his early work, like Marvels or like Kingdom Come, compare that to like the stuff that he's doing now, it's like wow, like the fact that he has become so lifelike in his drawings and his artwork, and it's like it's literally like I can see his artwork in a museum. Like it's not just comic book art anymore,
Right.
But
I mean that's a weird distinction to even make. That's very subjective right there in a completely different conversation. I love that.
No, but it just shows you because like somebody who is as skilled as that did not wake up one day that skilled.
Oh yeah,
like you had like. So no, you make a good point. I think I'm gonna start adopting that idea.
Awesome. Very good.
Look at that.
And I guess there is something I want to point out about like and I hate to like call you out, Mike. Like I know you're just saying something to be like reverent towards the guy that an artist you admire, but like
Yeah.
the fact that you say he's not just a comic book artist anymore, he belongs in a museum. That is like shitting on comic artists, right? You know what I mean? Like,
I can
it's
see it. I
like
can see it being taken
they
that
don't
way.
deserve to be in it. And I don't mean to be like, fuck you, Mike, but it's just like it's something that but that's like a cultural thing, right? That's
Yeah.
something that we all kind of grow up going like, oh, comic book art, that's cute. You know, let's go look at the real artists over here. That's kind of like the mentality about it. And
Yeah, most definitely.
is
Like
that right or wrong? I don't know.
like your average person, they wouldn't like for us, we would probably think like, oh, Jack Kirby's work is just amazing, right? But if I go to like my average like coworker or something, they're just like, oh, cartoons. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, did your nephew draw that, or?
Yeah, you know.
And I would say that like the one of the places where that really starts to like become blurry and gray is when you get people like Kent Williams, Kim Jung-gi doing comic books, you know, where they're illustrating the inside. Like Kent Williams is like an amazing oil painter, and he did the interiors of the Fountain, which is another one that got me going like, oh my God, comic books, holy shit. Like you guys should check that book out. It is incredible looking. And honestly, it's, you know, the Fountain's pretty cool in the first place. So, but yeah, and Kim Jong-gi is like, he was a dynamo. And yeah, to lose him was a huge blow to like comics and art in general. But like, yeah, I mean, I don't know, it was just incredible stuff. So Kevin's unmuted. I'm totally taking over this podcast. I was invited to.
You're good.
Oh, you're good.
I was just going to add to that. It's really interesting. Like I was in France for a week, and just looking at the French culture of all the tree comic books out there, I think that's kind of part of the problem. The U.S., Canada, it's just like we treat comic books as an inferior medium. That's just like all the industry over the years that actually put that at the back of the store. It's like, and now, I think the timeline is really interesting because the comic book, they go like beginning of 2000 at the back of the store, newsstands are done, comic book stores starting to close. The 90s speculation did crash, which is just part of a market like any market. But when the movies arrived, 2008, 2010, whatever, after the first Iron Man and all the crazy shit happened, the most interesting thing that did happen actually is the comic book that turned into merchandise and not a form of art. That's really where we see a comic book pivot into like, oh, now it's just a merch like a Funko Pop.
Well, because eventually you started seeing like the source material was no longer being utilized as the source material. It was the movies starting to be used as source material for the comic books now.
Oh yeah.
And that's not the way it was supposed to go, I don't think.
Well, they don't. I mean, yes, it's not the way it's supposed to go, but I don't think they care, because like the money in the project that was really the MCU is a total reboot of IPs that were, not dead for most of them, but if you look at the bag of MCU, for example, beside like Spider-Man or, for example, this Iron Man is really the thing that really started like the Hulk and everything. It's not, they were existing, but did not start the whole thing. Iron Man was pretty much outside of comics a dead character at that point, and
I mean, so was Hawkeye, Captain America. Like a lot of those characters were pretty much dead in the water as far as comics were concerned.
No one were caring about that. Like if you take Marvel, like of course Spider-Man will never die, but I mean, what I mean by that is just like that generation, and even bigger than that, because the non-nerds, because now it's cool to be geek, but the people that were geek before 2008. They were not giving a fuck about comics, and now they're not either, because the marketing play was not done, or the marketability of comic book was switched on merchandise. So now you don't consume the comics as a reading experience; you consume it as a collectible, which always been the case. But now you did not create new readers; you created like a new thing. And the problem as well, the comic book form in the US is also the price point in the entry point. Like you get 22 pages for $5, while you can get a full manga for 10.
Yeah, that's a huge thing that I see with people, because they're like, why would I waste my money when I can spend barely double and get 4 times the amount of material to read?
So those new
it's
fans,
a valid argument for sure.
It really is.
So, for example, those new fans that go see the movie, they are pumped, like the new Marvel. why would they? It's really hard to convince someone to go buy a $5 book that is issued at 322. They don't understand what's going
That they're
on.
gonna have to keep up
Yeah.
with every
Someone is
other
on
week or whatever it
comics.
is. Yeah,
But
no, for
you
sure.
watch One Piece on Netflix, you go to the store, full volume 1 at $10. And
No, that's facts.
And you
That's
can
facts.
find manga at freaking Target now.
Target,
Like you can find it
Barnes
everywhere.
You-
7-Eleven just beside a slush.
Yeah.
it, the
I saw Funko
accessibility of
Pops
manga is
at
amazing.
Speedway the other day at the gas station. Like,
Wait, really?
yes, I shit you not.
Bro, like the accessibility of manga is like insane because even like it's very daunting to try to like catch up on a series. And what if you miss an issue? Sometimes shops just don't get an issue.
Yeah,
And that
distribution is a big issue
Yeah,
sometimes,
so-
especially with Marvel and DC. We'll have shops here in Columbus that won't even get DC shipments sometimes.
And if
That
you
just
wait
get
for-
skipped that month. Like,
Yeah, and the wait for the trade thing is like if the customer is hyped at the moment to buy the series, but the trade release we don't know, in 6 months, 4 months,
yeah,
you're it's impossible that you get that guy as a customer or the reader of your series. So I think as a publisher, that's something that like I'm actively trying to crack the code, and I hope that like we will get to a state of point, like a state of union, I guess, in the comic book industry that like all indie publishers, because I don't think I can convince Marvel and DC at this point to change their model because
oh no, their model makes them billions of dollars. They ain't changing nothing.
No, they
Oh, no, yeah.
I think that like we are at a moment that they need to be a change, or actually a change of philosophy of all like comics need to be distributed, and no shame against comic book store. When I say that, is I want to include them in it and find solution actually to support local business, because the thing is when someone buy a local comic book shop, they support a local business, but they also support a small business that is a publisher. And after they support another small business that is the creator. So when a local comic book shop, we support a full pipeline of small businesses. So the answer, of course, like, yeah, direct sale is cool. As a publisher, as an artist, we get a bigger cut. But I will rather like, hey, how do we keep that beautiful pipeline of small businesses being helped in the process? Because that's a really unique thing that we don't see in a lot of industries. Like, I can't name another industry that you can support like a chain of like small businesses with one product. And that's something really unique with comic book that I think we need to preserve. But we need to do something, because like right now we're running on a model that expired 30 years ago. Like,
No,
Yeah,
100%. Especially like with marketing. Like the way a lot of comic books are marketed is still the same way they were marketed in 2000 or in 1999. They're in the back of other comic books
oh man,
or in on a poster in a window of a comic book store. Like that's not enough anymore.
It's not. It's not.
That's a question I want to. That was a baseball move to Rob. I'm just curious as an artist, because that's a different perspective. Because I go with publisher, business sense, whatever. Of course, I think the answer going to be like rates and everything. But like, do you think that like the business could be better for artists? I guess like for in a way that like reaching out to. I'm just curious, like could be better for artists, because right now I think the problem with comics, it's stuff like a self-employed type thing, that there is no like really business or industry right now.
There's no
That's the weird
business
thing.
standard for it.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that a lot of artists, and this comes from personal experience, have the tendency to undervalue themselves and their own work and all that kind of stuff. And that actually ties into the whole skill thing. Is like, I actually saw this in a post of my friend Joe, who's an engineer. He posted something about like someone was asking this engineer, for instance, just like, why is this so expensive? You're just doing this and this. It looks pretty simple. And the engineer's answer was like, you're not paying for me to do this and this. You're paying for like this little slice of the 30 years of training and all the practice and all the materials I had to use to do that and blah, 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 blah. So just a quick little digression there. But so, I mean, I see a lot of times like new artists especially come in and go like, I'll do a pencil drawing for $15. Like, what? I wouldn't lift a finger for $15. I don't care if it takes me 5 minutes. That's not worth your time.
I'll say if it's
And
not going to
then,
fill my gas tank, I'm not
Yeah.
messing with it.
right?
Man.
Yeah, that too. Like, it's just crazy. So I think some kind of like standardization. But yeah, I mean, if you're an artist in the indie space, there's no you are running your own business. There's no like studio that you work for where you're getting consistent work. Not that I'm aware of. I've never like applied for a studio or anything like that. I can't speak to that side of the business, but like I know that the artists that I do know who are working for like Dark Horse or DC or whatever, they do so on a contract basis. They're not
Right.
in-house employees. So,
Right.
and again, I don't have a lot of experience on that side of things. So maybe I'm not the right person to ask, but something that's standardized and also education for people who are going into this or whatever on how to not rip themselves off would be pretty helpful. So, because I don't want to be the only guy in the room who like isn't getting ripped off, you know, and I don't think anyone who's worth their salt is. I don't want to see other people who I'm competing with like getting ripped off. Like that sucks. I want everyone to be getting paid what they're worth. And that includes like the writers that hire you or whatever, whoever you're getting your work from and the retailers as well. Like, and you know, I don't want inflation to go up, but the prices of comic books have not been proportional to the inflation of, let's say, eggs. like
No, 100%.
Yeah.
it's comic books have been $4 recently gone up to $5, I guess, for the past like 10, 15 years. That's ridiculous. That's not sustainable. So there needs to be more money going into the industry. How to do that? I'm not the guy to ask to answer that question.
Yeah. Or like, where does all this money go? Yeah, it's like one of those things.
Well, the money should be going to the people who are working. Like,
yeah, that doesn't always happen. It doesn't always
no,
happen.
it doesn't. It usually doesn't. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Kevin? Bat that back right back to you.
We are working on something massive that's in the air right now. So we are working hard. We want to change some stuff in business because that, to me, there is no point of making, working a creative business if you're not trying to innovate or change stuff. Because like being creative is all about changing the world. Even like it's just a comic book, changing the world sounds big, but being a creator, that should be the point of making something. If your goal is not to change stuff, why are you even creating? You know, that like architect or just like if you just go back to history, like everything has been created for today, just like your books behind you, your laptop, your headphones. It's all by artists. Of course, after there's a manufacturer, but the manufacturer duplicate like the comics. But behind that, it's an artist, and then that's I think that's what kind of that philosophy is kind of lacking right now in comics, that we forget that like creators founders of our universe in a way, and just like, and that I think we undervalue creatively who we are, and that's just made by the oppression of the job, because like there is no union, there is no like really public rate, there is no like there is no like really like respect for the artist. It's just like, hey, work for hire, do your thing. And same thing for the writers, not just the artists, anyone involved in comics. There is so like the March aspect of it, or just like the just where we are as a state of industry, that it's kind of the creators are reduced to just like be makers, but we forget actually that it's with creation that actually the world move forward. And I don't know. I'm just like, I'm really philosophic right now, trying to it's not just like today.
No, we love it.
I'm in a
it's a
moment right now.
philosophical question, right? Like,
I'm right. I mean, we are as a company in a moment of like really thinking about like, how do we change things? How do we make this thing work as an industry? Because there is, as you know, because we will not like be talking right now, there is plenty of shit that doesn't work in that business. And I don't want to speak for everyone, because like that business, and there is some publishers, there is some artists that this model really worked for them and good for them. But that's a small part of the bag, and there is like the majority of the bag right now that this model doesn't work with, because the time has changed, and in all the other industries of creation, I don't think there is a single one on the creative side that did not evolve or adapt to new business, new models for remuneration of the artists, creators, publishers, whatever, and in promotion, because that all start with marketing. Like you said, the marketing for comics is it's nothing from most of the publishers. But the problem is it's full circle. If there is no money, there is no money for marketing. But if you have no money for marketing, you sell no books. So that's the problem of the model right now. It's like a rat running, to trying to catch a snail. But the problem is like on both sides there is nothing right now. So we need to sit down and find a way to like make comic work because we love it, and we don't want it to disappear. We want more readers. We want a new, a 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. I don't know how many updates we had on comics, but we need to figure some stuff up. I think that's the moment right now. And if no one take that position, I think that there is no change. It just mean that just like the model, the business itself won't be LT, or just like won't be going to LT place, and that's important for any creative in the business right now. We should all be talking together and trying to find ways to make this thing work, because without the people behind, there is no comics. And
That's true.
No,
No,
100%. Like I joke with all of our guests after the show, after every episode. I'm like, thank you for coming on, because if we don't have guests, we don't have a show. Like, we need people on to talk. But and then they thank us for, giving the outlet. But that was the goal of us doing this show in the first place, was because we saw a hole in the industry where, like, there's no one helping anybody promote
True.
these independent projects. And if they are, they're charging crazy fees and getting zero results. Like, I'm not going to name any names, but I've seen some guys that are Kickstarter promoters, and they charge these guys an arm and a leg, and all they do is retweet whatever the person's posting about their own stuff. And I'm like, that's not how you do that.
Yeah.
So that's why we wanted to start the show, because it's like, well, we find all these good indie books on our own anyway. Imagine how many more we could find if we just put the word out there that we want to give a free platform to people to come on and plug their stuff. It helps everybody out. It gives us something to do and gives us stuff to talk about and read and content to put out. And it gives the creators a free way to get their stuff out there.
Yeah. Because trust me, as nerds, I mean, we want to talk about this stuff with other people. So if people watch the show and then they find other comics and we just all happen to like them, then, that's how friendships get started. So it's like, I'm always been a big believer of like, I love trying to get people into the stuff I like, right? And I think that's with anybody, right? Like, if you see something and you think it's cool, you're like, you know what? I'm going to put my buddy on, right? And
I mean, I pretty much forced you into indie comics. Like,
oh man, facts. Yes.
he was a
Oh,
hardcore
man.
DC Comics fan when me and him first
I mean,
met.
y'all could probably see behind
And he
me.
still
like,
is, but I was
yeah,
like, bro, you've
like-
got to start reading some of this indie stuff I'm finding.
No shade at DC or Marvel. Like there is some really talented people working there too.
Oh, and there's some great stuff that
yeah.
they put out, but
awesome.
there's just so much more to comic books than capes and tights.
It's like any industry, if you go to more music, you could just listen to the top 40 Billboard, or if you go to movies, you could just go to the Disney and Warner's movies and done. But that's way more than that. It's the same in every industry.
Exactly. I mean, like comics, they're not a genre; it's a medium. There's crime stories, there's romance, there's war, action, adventure.
There's
so many
historical
different
fiction,
things.
there's nonfiction.
Yeah.
I've read autobiographical stuff. We had Teresa Kiyaki come on here not long ago and talk about her book Drawn to Key West, which was just her going around Key West, Florida, and interviewing street performers and putting their stories into a graphic novel. I mean, just like there's all kinds of stuff out there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Kind of remind me what we did for Washing the Blood with Read Jesus.
Yeah.
I was saying, speaking of that book, kind of go ahead. Let's go ahead and get you guys plugging that real fast. Give us kind of a brief synopsis, the inspiration behind the book. Kind of, I couldn't show a whole lot of what's in the book because YouTube might demonetize or take us down. But I did grab a couple of screenshots so people can get a sense of the artwork.
I'm a little scared about what I just put in one of my Substack newsletter. But can I address a recent comment actually? right before we get into this, and then I'll hop straight into talking about the book. Michael Bologna says something about me saying that prices should go up, and I'm like, okay, that's a good argument, because first of all, don't look at me and go like, okay, this is the comic industry like economist. Don't, yeah, that one. I'm not necessarily saying that comic books prices should go up the way they are. I more want to ask the question of like, is there something that we can do to in comics, whether it's an issue or doing like Kevin and I tried something early on when we were publishing called doing I think we called it a deluxe issue or something like that, where it was 64 pages and we sold it for $10 or something like that. Nice quality print and everything. So, you know, just trying ideas like that. Like, how can we make comic books and this medium more worth more to readers? Because like a floppy issue is basically disposable, right? Like you're renting it almost, because it's not made out of super high material usually. And like, I never buy them because I want to have something that's going to look cool on my shelf with a spine. And like, I'll be able to flip through it later and kind of go like, oh, this is still cool after 10 years and it's not falling apart and smashed. So yeah, I mean, that's a really good argument to bring up about like talking about getting more money into the comic book industry. And I'm not saying that simply raising the prices is the answer. I think it's part of adding more value to the industry.
Yeah, and I don't think he said he wasn't disagreeing, but yeah, no, it is interesting because there are two very different opinions out there, because a lot of readers I hear are like, man, this $4.99 for 29, like, you know, like they get mad saying that's too much. And it's
when I look at a book that's 32 pages, I'm going like, do I want to spend $5 on that? So yeah, I mean, and I don't want to get into a debate over the comments or anything, but like it's a
no. Michael is a former guest as well. He's very open conversation kind of guy. We know Michael, so it's all good.
No, that's cool. I love it. I love it.
And it's kind of interesting because like we are facing the same problem with theaters right now with movies.
Oh,
because
totally.
Like, you see it now that like there is no in between. It flops or it's a big hit. There is nothing in between now at the box office for big movies. Like I think people just want to have like they're tired of not having good shit for their money, because like now, and with the movie example, it's even easier than comics, because like if you're a family of 4 going to a movie, it's $100 now.
Oh, easy.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And that's just tickets and popcorn. That's not counting drinks and other snacks and all the other nonsense.
Yeah. If you had popcorns and shit, you might go 150. If you put that money on it, you want your family to have the best time of their life. And that's why, it flops like do good. It's just that now people are so selective with what they spend. And it's normal because life is so expensive that every industry is facing that. So like my $5, I will just, before I was buying like random issues, just like, oh, that cover is cool. That one looks cool. But now I will just grab the stuff that I'm really, really sure that I love. And I'm super conservative with my money because life is so expensive. We see it in comics as well. And it's normal. And all the industry are going that way. But that also means that the industry needs to follow the economy. The model is not adjusted to the current economy. And
that's true. That's true.
It's still based in a 90s economy, which doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't, because like you don't want like some of these companies to get complacent, right? Which, and of course, this would be a topic for a whole another podcast. I mean, look at things that's going on with some of these Marvel movies. We could tell that Disney and Marvel were getting complacent, and I think people have started to vote with their dollars, on what they want. Because people, they want to. The economy is crazy, man. People want to spend their money on things that it's actually worth their time,
Yeah, go watch Dune 2.
Yeah. I have heard that. That's an excellent one.
I'm actually planning.
It's
been a good year so far for movies.
Yeah,
it's been solid.
Yeah. True. Okay, let's talk about Washing the Blood.
Yeah, let's talk about the blood.
Yeah, let's get into Washing the Blood.
I had to though.
No, dude, we love it.
I was saying that for me because I can go on a rant for 15 minutes if I don't say that.
Yeah, no, seriously. Well, it'll never be over.
So, all right, yeah, go kind of give us a synopsis of Washed in Blood.
Yeah, Kevin, this is your idea. It's your fault. So
It's my fault. And in my new pitch, I did pitch it a couple of times like that. It's always a success. I say that's Washing the Blood is what if Deadpool directed Dune. So basically, we follow this little kid in a wasteland, frozen wasteland, because like we do not want to do another like sandbox wasteland. And also, I'm from Quebec, so I hate winter. The F word winter, you know. I love that it fuck bro. I say fuck like probably 15 times, but now like I think for myself. But whatever.
Yeah, I should have asked if we can use 4-letter words. I've just been kind of.
Oh, it's way past that point at this point.
Yeah.
so.
We're live. Whoops. No delay. Whatever.
No worries.
But, what I'm saying that like it's just so the concept is pretty simple. We follow this little kid. Look at that cover of Rob did with
Oh yeah, that's my cover.
He just he shoot himself.
Cover B.
But so we follow this kid in this frozen wasteland. That after some events, which is a massive side of his family, it's happened at the beginning of the book, no surprise. And he heard the voice of the god of guns, and now he is looking for the prophecy that he isn't not even sure that if there is a prophecy actually. So he just like followed this little voice of like a creepy god, and that's the god world, and we can see the gods about to elect the gods of the multiverse basically. And that's the art from Casas Pentulas, which has like this really old school European style from the Metal Hurlant era, which is like it's before heavy metal because heavy metal come from Metal Hurlant, which was a French comics magazine where guys like Mobius started. Like Mobius, for example, started in Metal Hurlant. Not in heavy metal. Okay. Heavy metal is a different company that bought the rights and created heavy metal. Even the movie actually is the real name was Metal Hurlant, just like for the US, it's called heavy metal. So yeah, it started from there. It's like for French sci-fi. No, but really, just like it's the big inspiration for me. Growing in Quebec, I have like this mix of like French and Anglo-Saxon culture. And like I've always been fascinated by this era of like 80s European comics that were so freaking crazy. We Jesus, of course. And I want Rob to tell the story of We Jesus.
Okay, yeah. So we Jesus. I used to drive for Lyft, right, back in like 2016, 2017, something. That was a while ago. And I got this rider once, man, and he's tall, kind of tall guy, long hair, big beard, and he gets in and he's just like, hey man, yeah, I'm Weed Jesus. What do you do? And he asked me what I do, and I'm like, right now, well, I'm driving for Lyft, and I'm an artist. He was like, oh, I'm an artist, man. Well, look, I'm looking to get some work done. And he described this work to me that I think might have been like his version of a chick tract or something, like some kind of religious like pamphlet in the form of a comic book. And it was this story about Jeff Sessions on TV yelling about how weed is evil and stuff like that. And Jesus was going to
I remember
go to
those.
the Republican House
I remember those videos.
and he was going to go and enlighten all of them. And that's what the comic was about. And I showed Kevin this comic that I had done for him. I was just like, hey man, check this. I just wanted to show because I thought it was funny. Like, look, this is some wild shit that I've been working on for Weed Jesus. And then Kevin's like, oh, hey, man, we got to put that in the book. I'm like, okay, whatever you say, dude. I wasn't really pitching it, but okay. Now it's in the book.
Now it's in the book.
And, it's fit seamlessly into the lore of Washed in the Blood. So that's a Weed Jesus story. And Weed Jesus, if you're out there, please hit me up, man. Let's do a sequel.
Yeah, hey, shout out Weed Jesus, I guess. There you
shout out to Weed Jesus, everybody.
Follow me on Telegram.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a funny story. I love that. And the fact that it's in this book is just like keeping it alive. keep Weed Jesus alive. He's out there somewhere.
All
That's
those years
great.
ago, crazy.
That made my whole day right there.
Yeah, and that just kind of reflect the philosophy we had, like while building this book, was really like an editing table. That's what I wanted to do with this one because it's such a weird comic book, a weird story, to me, it was important to have this editing table type of feeling. It's like, how do we smash idea into it, put it in a blender without making it into like an explosion? Just be sure that we do a cool smoothie that works. And I don't know, like that we Jesus thing, I was just like, that's a perfect fit. There's a way that we can blend that into it, just make it fit the theme of the book, because the theme is obviously like a kid questioning faith. So having this like weed Jesus thing, just like really tone down the tone and play with the comedy of it, because it's also packed with dark humor. It's not like something super like eyebrow and serious all the time. Obviously, you can tell by my personality that I'm kind of like the two extremity. So so yeah, the book is really reflecting my personality that you see on the show. Like I can go super serious and deep, and after just being a dumbass, and that's really what resumed the book. When I say Dune directed by Deadpool, it's also kind of the definition of my personality in a way, and I think that book is really reflecting that. And Rob did bring and Costas did bring their spice to it, which the Dune reference, and. But with their style, I think really complement like the story that I was building with their own creativity and way of like telling that story. That is, it did bring like both did bring like a way of presenting that story that I would never have thought of. So it's pretty cool to combine every ideas, and that's a cool thing with comics. It's a cheap, easy process of combining brains together. It's not like movies that you need to spend millions or $100,000 to have few people on set to combine ideas with budget limitation. That's the thing with comics too. You can tell stories without a budget limitation. For example, Washing the Blood probably would be like a $30 million feature,
Especially if you wanted to do it animated.
Yeah, no, animation is crazy. It's like $1 million minute.
Hey, no one said that wasn't on the bucket list, though. Like,
100%.
Oh yeah.
If you don't think this looks like something that could go on Adult Swim and fit right in, then I don't know what else.
People would eat that up, man.
yep, there it is.
100%. It's just the art styles alone in it are like just out there.
I love Costas's stuff. Still kind of blows my mind when I look at it. Like just the designs and stuff. Like in a conversation Kevin and I had not too long ago, he compared it to kind of like Clive Barker, like Hellraiser type stuff, and me, like it was evoking for me like Mobius and Hodorowski. It's kind of got this horror element, but also just it's super psychedelic and like
sort of like a mystical vibe to it.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness. See, that's the one I can't show in high def.
But yeah, that page is crazy. But yeah.
No, it's a beautifully done book for sure.
Yeah, and just the lettering as well, like Michael Calero and Rob together. Like Michael did all the traditional.
I like the colors as well, like the coloring
stuff. That's Rob.
Coloring is really nice.
We're suckers for good lettering and good coloring on this show because we've said it 100 times. Bad coloring or bad lettering can kill an entire book.
Hell yes, dude. And no one ever notices when it's great. Like that's the thing that really gets me. That's why when I do my lettering,
because when it's great, you don't need to note. You don't even notice it's there. Right, you know what I'm saying? It just is. But if you spend as much time as we do analyzing these things, then you start to notice it.
I like in coloring and like lettering to like sound design and lighting in movies. Like if it's really good, most general moviegoers usually won't notice. They'll be like, oh man, that was a really nice looking movie, but they won't really understand why. But like if it's bad, you're going to be like, what the hell was going on? Like, I think it was
like, why does it sound like that person walking on sand is walking on glass?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So to make all that stuff sort of like blend together and mesh really well, like great lettering and great coloring are essential. So yeah, I really appreciate the work that Michael Calero did on it because it looks awesome. And also because it adds a lot of contrast to the lettering that I did. That's like the kind of infographic stuff and the hand-drawn stuff. It just makes it look that much more freaking crazy and energetic and like aggressive. And I love that. And so it actually turned out really awesome to have two letters on a book, which is something I don't think I've ever heard of before. I don't think that's very common, but
it's a Roditeli project.
It worked out great.
I don't know. I'll have to do some digging because now I'm curious if anything I own is done by two different letterers. Huh.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever noticed a book done with 2 different letterers, but that is
Now
interesting.
that's something I'm gonna be like
Yeah,
looking
now
out
we're
for.
looking.
Yeah.
We got the glasses on for it. And that's
Oh,
something
man.
too with like the hand drawn letter. I don't think I would like. I would be less comfortable with someone else coming in and doing hand drawn like sound effects or lettering on my artwork, right? Because I've got like I know the process and all the I'm like really familiar with the coloring and I know it like the back of my hand. And so when I go in and do this like hand done stylized lettering, I have very much like a vision in mind of what the colors should be and like the shape and the composition of how the lettering should go together. And so, like, to ask someone else to come in and do that to my artwork, I feel like it's kind of like, whoa, that's kind of weird. And I've done that on other people's artwork, but I try to be very careful and like I show it to them and go like, hey, what do you think? And we always
Right, because you don't
reach
want
a
to like
point where
step
it's
on
like, oh yeah,
someone's
that looks really
toes
like
or
the hand done lettering should complement the artwork and look like it's kind of integrated into it, while at the same time standing out enough to be like, oh, this is lettering, I should read this, and or if it's not necessarily important, at least make sure it gels with the artwork and looks good. With like sound effects and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I've seen some
I
people
love it.
that try to do their lettering very they call it subtle lettering, where they like color in the word bubbles with the almost with the background of the scene. And it's like,
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
I can barely read this. Like
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff can I think there's always a possibility for ideas like that to work. It's just a matter of execution and like, is this the right time to use that sort of technique or whatever? But like,
Right.
using it, but like, I love when people do stuff like use colored bubbles. Like it doesn't always have to be white. It doesn't always have to have lines around it, all that kind of stuff. And but it's not a one size fits all thing. Like there's
Right.
three letters. I hope you got. I don't know. That might be really cool.
Be careful. My next one gonna have 7, man.
Yeah. Each
More
each
letters.
page.
We're gonna have a lettering battle here on the Indie Inkwell.
A letter per panel.
That sounds a lot like a spelling bee to me. I don't know how exciting that would be.
I bet to a group of letterers it would be exhilarating.
All right. I want to see it happen.
Never do a bet like that with me. The number of people on something.
You have a book with a different letter for each page. It'd be like 4 rooms.
So before we let you guys go, because I know, Kevin, you're sitting in an airport bar, and Rob, you didn't even know this was happening until about a half hour beforehand. Is there any kind of like advice you guys would give for people trying to get into the industry? And then also, are there any like common misconceptions about indie comic book industry that you would like to correct?
I can definitely give some advice, and I've kind of gone over this already, but just like do what you're passionate about. And especially if you're feeling discouraged, like I know, like when I was in high school, early teenager, even in my late teenager, even in my early 20s, I was looking at my art and going like, man, I'm just not satisfied with this. Like keep at it, and don't just try to do the thing that you've been trying to do. Like do that, and then also study other people's work. Like always try and like gather information and keep it around you. Look at it a lot, because you can, like, I can't tell you the amount of times where and even this has happened like recently. A couple of years ago, for instance, I read a book by Dong Ho Kim. It might be behind me. I don't see it. Called Space Drawing Perspective. And like immediately after reading that book, I started using techniques that made me better at drawing perspective. It was like night and day, dude. It blew my mind. And so I guess I'm kind of ranting here, but like, so I guess my advice comes in 2 parts. It's 1, keep learning. Don't ever stop learning. Don't ever be satisfied with the level of skill you're at, because you can always be better, right? Because perfection doesn't exist. And the other one is to do what you're passionate about, because viewers, readers, the people who are consuming your work, they can tell if you don't give a damn, right? So do the stuff that you care about. And this is something I heard from Kim Jung-ji. This was actually on like a Proco interview. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that guy, but he interviews artists, and like he's big in the like fine art world.
Okay.
His full name's like Stan it's got a lot of syllables. I'm sorry, Stan. I might not even be
Stan, really long last name.
Yeah.
He's got a long
Yeah.
last name. He goes, his channel is called Proco. He was interviewing Kim Jong Gi, and he said, "Don't work only to satisfy your clients. Work to satisfy yourself as well." So that's like a don't sell. If you're going to sell out, you got to sell out a little bit if you're going to make a living. That's just the reality of it.
Right.
But only sell out like halfway. Like you don't want to be doing work that you hate. And like,
or the stuff that's like morally not in your
things that you don't think are like cool to do or whatever. Like, just don't do that stuff. It's not good. It's not going to be rewarding for you. But do things that you're proud of. And I will stop talking now. Kevin.
No, I love it.
I'll say, Kevin, for on the publisher side of things, is there any kind of advice you can give to creators trying to either pitch their books to publishers or kind of to new publishers trying to start their own publishing house even?
I would say the trap, and I think that's like applied to any businesses, like any field, not just comics. It's work with people that you get along with, that you like, and not go for the potential reward. Because most of the time, what you will do when you start a business, as an artist, you are a business. Like the first time that you make a page, you are a business. But if you go into a business, don't look at the reward. Look what the long run is. Because most of the time, like an artist will accept a job because he's like, oh, that job can bring me to my dream gig or whatever, but doesn't see what's in between. Like, and most of the time, it's actually delusional because you're just like thinking about this end goal, but you have like 25 steps to do before getting that end goal. And getting along with that person, or just that person using you, because like we can use the term losing you in that case, should not be part of that process. You're just in a delusional. And that happened with anyone. That happened to me. I'm sure it did happen to Rob. It happened to you as well. When you have dreams, when you have like a vision for like where you want to go, you kind of forget what's the road at some point, and just like accept shit or accept being with people that you should not be with.
Yeah.
Just because you feel that like, oh, I need to do that to get there. But
yep, I relate with that 100%.
Yeah, so my advice for any artists or publishers or anyone getting into any business, before coming to work with someone, step back, ask yourself, do I see myself having a beer with that guy? Go, or just like chilling, or just like outside of business. Could I get along with that person?
Right.
Because if not, it's impossible to just do business, because we are human beings at first. We are not, fucking cards, part of board games that should be used to play a little game, of life. It's at first we're all humans. So if like the human side doesn't click, well, you can't play the game together. It's like we can just compare to video games, for example. You can play Call of Duty with people you don't know online, but you will never play as well as if you are with your good friends, and like tag team with microphone. It's the same shit in business. You just like put your microphone on and then go get some kill strike,
Yeah. No, that's facts.
No,
That's what being in a team is all about, right?
Great advice. I mean, if I couldn't get along with this guy, I don't think we'd be doing this show together. So,
What would be the point?
Who said get along? No.
Well, on
I
that
hate
note,
you,
everybody,
Longbox.
make sure you guys go check out massivepublishing.com to check out everything they've got coming out. They've got a ton of stuff, and they've got a bunch of IPs on there that you guys might already be familiar with. They've got stuff on there like Zorro, Assassin's Creed, American Psycho, all kinds of stuff on there. So if you're kind of weird about indie stuff because you're not sure, they've got some transitional stuff you could start with.
Ease into it.
Exactly. I like to give people suggestions like that to kind of ease their way into indie comics, because if they're only
familiar with, I like that.
Exactly, if they're only familiar with like Marvel and DC superheroes, but they've played video games, they might know Assassin's Creed. They're like, oh, there's a comic book for that. Let me check that out. Is there anything else similar to this? Blah blah blah. But yeah, if you guys want to help support the show and help us support the independent comic book community, head over to the Indie Inkwell merch store at the QR code on your screen right there. We will also have links down in the description below. And make sure you guys tune in next week, same time, same place for our next episode. Everybody, thank you guys for coming on to the show. Thank you guys, everybody in the chat, for hanging out with us tonight. And we will see you guys next week. Everybody, be safe, be kind, and take it easy.
Thank you.